on Insta.
Right. We're on. Oh, here we are at the end of the day in our pajamas. I just came out of the ideas room literally a minute ago.
I had a small panic because you're always like early. I was like, where is she? And then, yeah. How was the ideas room?
It was really great. It was really funny. It was joyful. People were wearing yellow. There were like, it was really busy. It was cool. It was a real celebration. I've still got my makeup on. I don't need to judge me. I just haven't had time to take it off.
Yeah,
So
no,
what you're thinking? It's been quite a day, hasn't it?
Oh, it has. It's been a lot, not long, like a full day. That's the way I would describe it. It's been a full day. And I'm buzzing because there's just been so much shared energy. Between the JISC 6 to 8 workshop and now I went down for dinner because I was in the workshop very conscious that my dinner hadn't arrived and my belly was telling me so. Which was nice because I could actually just nip down and have dinner with people down there because I'm over in Sunderland, and I do want to talk about the lovely people that I've shared the day with over here actually. But what I'm thinking it's just been a full day of really joyful things actually. It's always, I love the synchronicity of like where we are. Being a full day.
Are you still there?
Yeah, I got a bit of crazy feedback then.
Right.
So yeah, it's been the synchronicity of where we've been today. So you with Kirklees and me over in Sunderland, and then just noticing everybody from around the country. Just, Twitter feed. I was just kind of in and out of Twitter feed all day. And just what I did love was that, bets happening, and that was really noisy on Twitter, but how noisy JoyFE was as well. And how, not to making sure that we emphasize the anti-competitiveness. I saw myself go to that place of, yes, we've got lots of noise, even though that is happening, and that's big, that's so big. But that was just really, really joyful to see all of the sharing from around the country, the people who are making noise with us, who are amplifying the work of JoyFE. And just, yeah, it's been a day of some really nice conversations actually, and that reminder of why we do what we do in its biggest sense. What about you?
Yeah, I love the conversations we have together in JoyFE, and I always feel a little bit of the pull of nostalgia, particularly from people who were there right at the start. And I see, I like the nostalgia gene. So while I get it, I'm not sure I get it, but I respect it and I understand it. But I'm always slightly troubled because it was the same on our birthday last year. People who said, well, I wasn't there at the start. And, it's almost like the preface has to be, well, I only joined about a year in, and then this was the reason. But actually, there was something that Charlotte posted on our JoyFE Collective Instagram account today that I really loved. And she said, if you have been to an ideas room, read our magazine, listened to the broadcast, shared anything on social media, downloaded the Fab Friday FM playlist, it's your birthday too. And that's what we say. We have no distinction between people who turn up to participate and people who get involved at any level of engagement or volunteering. Look at this morning, we had a technical hitch. And every single person who was in that broadcast went and shared the new link. We had to have a new link, and they shared it everywhere. That's volunteering when it's needed, isn't it? That's sort of mucking in, when the energy is there and when it's needed. So I suppose for me, there's something really important about, it's great to look back and it's sort of nice, but even as we do something like that, that could also send out a measure of not belonging to someone else. And the joy of JoyFE is sometimes when we are with people who are not part of it and they're getting it and they're feeling the energy and they're sharing the energy. And I really love that. And I had that experience at Kirklees today. And you have obviously had it up there as well.
Yeah, it's been great actually, because it's been a busy day at, with the MPhil stuff. I just wanted to mention a couple of the things because this morning we did some guided seminars, so led by the wonderful Maggie Gregson, and we'd had 2 articles to read before we got here today, and then we looked at them in a bit more detail, and the conversation kind of spiraled off, as you would imagine. When we were talking, the second article we looked at was about craft, and that it was highlighting the divide that's been established over time between academic and vocational routes of study, and how actually you can't have one without the other, and all of that sort of stuff. But as Maggie was talking, there were some things that were said that actually just reminded me of JoyFE, and she will have referenced them as she was talking, and I wasn't quick enough to type them all, but I just wanted to mention a couple of those because the people that I've been with today at Sunset, most of them, some of them know what JoyFE is about, and they know what we do, and some people have no clue, and I love that as well, because not everyone's on Twitter. We've expanded now. There's lots of places you can find us, but not everyone knows what we do, and actually just the describing of what we do, or just the curiosity about what that is, always, I always love being part of those conversations. A few things cropped up today, and you might even know the theorist, or the person that pitched it, because a lot of it is philosophy. But there was one of the points was about the language that we use highlights what we think is important. And I suppose, and this is me just joining some dots based on what you just said, is that the language that we use does kind of tell our story, and does give it gives an outward signal of the sometimes we know it gives an outward signal of the things that we feel. So I suppose linking to how sometimes people reference that they didn't join early doors, or in the early days of JoyFE, I suppose just gives light to how they kind of feel that, but that's their story. And I'm hoping, as you said, I'm hoping that everybody sees that the doors are always open, and there is no, I love like taking things back to, and only because that time for me at the time, with the situation I was in and the space that we found, there was something so monumental about that time that I love thinking about that time and the energy that was there. But it's never to the exclusion of, or any like lesser credit to anyone who's ever joined or been involved since, because, and like you say, anybody who even watches from the periphery, and potentially that influences them when they go out, whether that's explicitly or implicitly, they're still part of what we do. And I love that. And this notion of the language we use highlights what we think is important. I think everyone, as part of JoyFE, knows that sometimes we struggle to find the words, because the feeling and the sense of what we're trying to do is mega. But I loved that. And then there was something about learning to love the ones that you're with. So we often talk, don't we, about organizations and working in organizations, and the things that are hard, but actually and we've always championed that it's influencing the conditions by which we create. And I think recognizing that we have agency and the ability to create environments where people feel supported, even if that's on like a micro level. We might see the organization as something huge, but even if we do that on our just one-to-one interactions, where people feel like they're working together, or they're supported, or they're valued, I think makes a massive difference to our interactions. And it becomes a choice, doesn't it? It becomes a choice of whether we take that, like that embodied spirit of what we're of joy into our everyday. I think that's really important, because we get to choose. we get to choose how we respond and actually how we contribute to that community, that sense of community. And there's all sorts, actually, there's just all sorts, but we talked about social aspects of work, and we talked about sometimes it's, and this is actually really, really relevant to something we were talking about in the 6 to 8 workshop. If you haven't felt it, you sometimes find it hard to imagine what it's like. And I think the people who have got involved in JoyFE just to see how it feels have really seen the magic that exists when you're in that pro-social, anti-competitive space where we hold the space for each other, especially when things are hard. So we were talking about having felt it, or having to feel something to fully understand it at times. So that was just really interesting. And then I just loved, the other thing that's popped up to me tonight is remembering some of the funny stuff that's happened. And what instantly came to mind was when we first started the broadcast on Twitter and random people would join with really like rude names and say rude comments, send rude comments or requests to the live broadcast. And we had to try and carry on with a straight-ish face talking about joy. I loved that.
Yeah, there's if anybody reads Richard, the guy from Pointless, Richard Osman's books, in the second one there's this running joke about this older lady called Joyce who sets up an Instagram, and she's called something like Extra Joy 69 or something, and you just know there's going to be a massive punchline at the end of that. We had some great keepers though. We had bouncers who would see him off, didn't we? So we certainly had some funny moments. I think there is something really important about, you write about the feel. And it's a bit like that with thinking environment training down the years as well. There's only so many words you can use to describe a feel. And if people are not open to the feel, it's so difficult to imagine how to get them to come through the door. There's so much fear, I think, around that, and so much just not understanding. I think the sad thing for me is that sometimes people feel the need to diss what we're doing because they don't understand it, instead of just saying, I don't understand. And actually, I can't be asked to come along. I can get alongside that, But it comes down to something that we're not always brilliant at, but I think we really, really work and try at, which is the radical candor of being able to say those challenging things, but say them with empathy and also say them with clarity, because clear is kind. So we are practicing and enacting values in that way as well. So I think that is really interesting. Yeah. And at the end of the day, the right people come along, and that also really matters. Sometimes, we go chasing the people who are not there, and we can't do that at the expense of people who turned up. At the 6 to 8 workshop tonight, it was JoyFE that turned up, and it was actually beautiful, and it was actually just a fabulous thing. So if I think back to that time 2 years ago, there are two things I know. One is that it takes me an awful long time to process big events. That's going to come out of me, I don't know, in a dozen years' time when I'm walking on a beach somewhere. And that's part of the diversity of the piece, isn't it? That we all have our different memories, experiences, sense of connection, but we still keep doing the work, and we carry on doing the work. And there's something in what you've said that reminds me again of the importance of doing the work on ourselves to do the work. So whenever I do a big event talking about joyful practice or JoyFE, and what was brilliant about Kirklees today, they specifically asked me to talk about JoyFE. I didn't have to shoehorn it in anywhere, they specifically wanted to know that. And I think that people can almost not hear that we have no bank account, that we have no money, that we don't want money, that we don't want a leader, that we don't want a central organizing core, that we want to work in this messy way that's so hard sometimes. People are just like, what? They don't even get to the question, are you doing it for nothing? They don't even get there. They just can't believe it. And there's something, Amber Taylor Smith has just written up her research around the ideas room. And there was something in there about, oh, well, I came to an ideas room and at first I thought it was a bit of a sell. Well, what are we selling? We ain't charging anything. No, we're not like gurus.
What could we sell?
We're not mind bending here. There's nothing to sell. There's no product. There's just an experience and an offer and a generous appreciation of you and a sense of inviting you in and wanting you to belong. However, and I think people are always waiting for the other, not all people, but some people waiting for the other shoe to drop. So where's the catch? When's the point at which they say, oh, we need you to commit to something now? We're not ever going to say that. However, at the same time, there is something about, we do have expectations of people. We expect people to self-regulate within an ideas room space, for example. When we have rules, we expect people to follow the rules in order to keep us all in a protected space. And one of the sad things that happens sometimes when I go out and I talk about joy in these places are the people who just, they seem to be really lovely people. They have no hope that we could, A, be telling the truth, or B, change anything, And I think that is really, really sad that we have so many people, and probably everybody listening will recognize this. We have people in our organizations who don't have any hope and who say to me things like, I love listening to you, Lou, but it's not going to make any difference. So we never see them at the ideas room. And that's a real shame, because I think what they're not getting is, even in these hierarchical spaces and these power plays and these power relations, actually, we still can choose to have some agency if we dig into our own joyful potential. And and one of us might not make much difference, but the more of us that do that, the more difference we get. And that comes back to the power of the collective, doesn't it?
Yeah. And even if you don't have a lot of hope in terms of like how that would ripple out in your organization, say, coming to do the work for you is the most activist thing you can do in that moment, potentially, because you're not sure how else to do it or what else to do, but actually doing the work in that space that just challenges your thinking, that challenges the way that you interact with people, the way that you develop your sense of hope or change. The space gives you the way after that you don't have to know the way, you don't have to see the way, you don't have to know how you'll go away and do anything at all different, but the space gives you the way. And sometimes people might have come once to the ideas room, and we talk about the ideas room quite a lot because that's been something that's just been like super magical, hasn't it, in terms of the impact and the effects of that. But sometimes people might come once and feel like, oh, this is different. I'm not sure. Because the demand is that it's not passive. The demand is that you're present, you're in the space, you speak. And it's about having that confidence to speak and not overthink, oh, I haven't got anything to say, or I'm new to this space. And actually, I always tend to say to people, if they do anything, do it at least 3 times. I'm not just talking about the ideas room, but give it a bit of time, and then you can decide if it's for you or not. But I think once you stick to it a little bit and you see it, what's interesting for me, sorry, my brain's now popping all over the place, is almost it totally changes the way that you think and the way that you are in other spaces. So actually now, I remember that time where I always needed to bring my stuff to the ideas room to speak it out loud, but now my brain almost does it for me, like works this stuff out, and I know that I would get more still from talking it out loud. but it just changes the way that you think, and it changes the way that you are. And even if you go away and you've got like a mini subconscious difference because of your being in that space, it'll ripple out in other ways, or it'll just, a lot of people say that they come to the ideas room and it just gives them more hope. They feel refreshed. You get an energy boost back. I will put a little like warning on the ideas room though. You get sore cheeks from smiling all the time. I do. I had that today in the JISC workshop, and I was like, I've got it again. You do get achy cheeks from smiling quite a lot. But other than that, you go away with just that sort of inspiration and it's a shared energy space, and you might take a little nugget of something someone else has said, or you might go away like, whew, that was a bit of a whirlwind. It was great. It was different. I don't know what that really was, but you see actually that it's just a different way of doing things. And like I said, we don't then go, right, give us your cash, or all right, now you sign up to the timeshare.
We really don't. We're not like just really patient. You know, we are 2 years in and we've not done that yet. We really don't. Oh God, yeah. I think, you know, we say it's really different, and then sometimes people turn up and then they're shocked when it's different. Is that sort of gap between? But I guess we sold to all the time. We have learned to wait for the other shoe to drop, I guess. And Joe's making the comment in the chat, which is really spot on. The thinking environment is what shapes the ideas room. It's one of our bootlegs, and it's a publicly accessible place to experience that too, because that's the different way of being, isn't it? And the fact that we're there in joyful practice is just a sort of double whammy, I think. So we'll keep talking, we'll keep trying to shape it, we'll keep trying to find the language, we'll keep, wondering why the guys come and then often don't stay. I have to just throw that out there. I'm not going to spend sleepless nights over this, but I have to throw it out there that not a single one of the guys who come along, who are in the minority, have ever volunteered to do anything organizational within JoyFE. They may have written for the mag, they may have got involved in the book, but actually when it comes to that sort of stepping up and having a go, so just throwing that out there, boys, as a challenge, and hopefully some people might watch this and have a think about it. And we definitely need greater reach over other dimensions of difference. We're not trying. We just haven't found the key. We haven't found the way. But the great thing about us is we just keep talking about stuff. We just keep talking about stuff. And we are not afraid of the power of returning to the same ideas again and again and again with different people in the room, getting different perspectives. And there's something about waiting for the moment. I said that this morning, and that has been the thing that has most stayed with me from the day. And what I'm going to do, Stef, I'm going to sort of say this and then invite you to say what's the one thing that has most stayed with you. And then we'll do a little roundup of what's happened. But when you called me, I was ready. I didn't know I was ready. I was waiting. I didn't know I was waiting. But we will never hear the call if we don't do the work on ourselves. And my PhD was all about me doing the work on myself. And when you called me, I was 6 years in and I was ready. And even though the actual theorizing of JoyFE and reconnecting it with that sort of notion of joy took a little bit longer, it was all there. And we didn't have to have these massive conversations that would slow us down. We could just say, we're doing this and we're doing it tomorrow. And that's joy in itself. What for you has been the biggest takeaway from our second birthday?
I think, well, there's two things, if I'm allowed to. One is just how important the work is, a reminder of that. And then it was actually what Hina said in the 6 to 8 workshop, which was "Your time will come too." That's mega.
Yeah.
That's mega. And what that means for me will be different for you, but actually, and that will be different for everybody. But if you don't step into the space, whatever that space may be, if you don't do the work, if you don't connect, I don't know, there's just something about it that really just totally moved me, and I would probably cry if I talked about it too long. But it's realizing that we all have that power within us, that potential that you talk about all the time, to make a difference. One person, one conversation, one day, 1 hour at a time, trying to shine more light into the world, then that for me, there isn't anything else.
For sure. Where we step into the space, whatever that is, we step into the space and we step into the power.
Yeah.
And this is just an amazing pool of joyfulness, isn't it? That actually we step into and we share. And the moment might not be here yet for either of us. You know, that wasn't the moment. That was a moment, but there'll be another moment.
Yeah.
Today, we open the day chatting online. Yeah, I mean, you still look fresh as a daisy. I look.
I'm so tired.
I've got the pink cheeks of the JoyFE Bowerbird cocktail, it's fair to say. Throughout the day, Sinead has published a birthday Fab Friday FM playlist. Hina and Hayley have been knocking TikToks out like there is no tomorrow. We would love anyone who gets involved just to do us like a 1-minute TikTok, 1-minute video. Send it to us. We'll get those out. We've seen people wearing yellow all over the place and posting their photographs. We have Sinead has published those appreciation stories, which are just glorious. And I'm glad me falling off the chair on a Zoom did get a mention. I'd have been disappointed if it wasn't. Or the time I burnt that really cheap candle and we were trying to do a workshop and like tears were running down my face. Oh my God. And then we have done the Community Fringe workshop at 6 to 8 where we shared. Well, it was completely chaotic where it came to time and utterly glorious. I was just like, throw it all up there. But brilliant.
I mean, we keep calling it JISC workshop.
I know. I'm just
leave that there.
Yeah. Who turned up? Who was there? Who was there was the right people.
Always.
And a bonkers ideas room, but then it always is. And then what a great way to finish the day. It has been amazing. If we weren't trending at some point, #JoyFE, I'm not having it.
Yeah.
Sod Peyton, William. You've got Lou and Stef.
It's been absolutely amazing. And it was floated earlier that year 3 might be an in-person event. We can aspire to that, because I think actual being in a room, lots of wine or non-wine, balloons, cake, etc. would just be amazing. So yeah, here's to year 3.
Here's to year 3, and thanks to everybody who's been part of everything today. A reminder of what Charlotte's words, it is all our birthdays. So have a fabulous rest of the evening. See you later. Lots of love.
Bye, everyone. Bye. Bye.
Bye.